All right, so welcome. This is our talk to go through different tools to optimize your virtual production workflow. All right, a quick introduction from ourselves. Ed, if you want to start.
Oh, sure. My name's Ed. I'm a co-founder of CG Pro, which is a training center, teach a lot of Unreal and virtual production. I've been in visual effects and software engineering previously.
My name is Sam Ferris. I am a senior manager at the Digital Media Production Center. I also work with the virtual production team and the engineers for all of the virtual production things from camera all the way up to Final Pixel and working with the LED volumes as well. So nice to meet all of you. We'll definitely get together later on and talk.
Awesome. A little bit of myself. I'm the head of XR business development for Sony Electronics, which includes a couple products that we've launched in the market, including one that we are going to talk today, which is Mocopi, a motion capture device. The other one is a spatial reality display, which is a glasses-free 3D display, and the head-mounted display that we announced earlier this year. And then we also have Lieber here, which is our virtual production supervisor. He's the boss. And we also have Shota over here from our Sony Japan office, from the business development side. Okay, so we are going to go through a quick introduction from CG Pro, from Ed, and then we are going to go through how to animate your projects using Mocopi. And Sam is going to talk about different tool sets that we just released for virtual production, and then we are going to do a live demo. All right, so to start with Ed.
The clicker. Thank you. Cool. Mind if I stand up while I talk?
No, go for it.
Do it. All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Ed. I'm going to talk about these things, just a little bit about what virtual production is, what it means to me, having done it for a bit about the art, a bit about shooting, a little bit about people and roles, and a little bit about skill sets. So it's going to be a condensed version of virtual production in like 10 minutes. So strap in. So my name's Ed, as I said. I worked in virtual production, but before that I kind of got there by working in visual effects and learning computer graphics and learning filmmaking. And then before that I was a software engineer. There's been a weird journey, but it all kind of adds up to this point where we're making movies with computers. And I got to, along the way, work at some really cool studios like ILM and MPC, Digital Domain. And DD was the point at which Jungle Book started to get made, and I found myself on that movie, and that was the emergence of really using game engines in production, not just for previs. And that evolved through Lion King and kind of got to the point of The Mandalorian, and just seeing the evolution that really comes from before that with like Lord of the Rings and Avatar and various other things that I wasn't involved in. But that's a little bit about what I've done. I've also worked in visual effects in things like Jurassic World. Here's a video about CG Pro. So what I meant to say before that was I also started a school, and it's called CG Pro. Cue the video. So that really came out of an evolution of being on those projects and realizing that the only people who were doing virtual production were big studios that had tons of expensive equipment, and they tried to productize it, and really it was Epic Games and Unreal Engine that's ended up expanding this out into more people's homes and small companies. and we've got them to really thank for freeing this technology. But yeah, the genesis of the school was really born from seeing that only those people had access to virtual filmmaking, pretty much, and we wanted to spread the love and get it out there, and that's what we've been doing for the last 4 years. So I want to take a second to talk about what is virtual production, and keeping my eye on the time. What virtual production tends to look like is like the big LED volume, and that's virtual production. To me and many, virtual production is all kinds of things in every stage of production. Every part of the process can benefit from it. That's going all the way from things that you can see or maybe not if they're too small in text. But virtual camera, which is a lot of what we did on Lion King, that was a really big, expensive, fancy virtual camera exercise. And it's really making previs with virtual camera in it, letting the filmmakers be able to shoot in their previs interactively and not have to do it at desks, which is kind of annoying and clunky. But virtual camera work is being able to hold objects. These guys will show you that in a minute, so I won't belabor that. But virtual camera, previs, being able to test your movie before you make it. That can take many forms, like the way we did it in Lion King, or just you being on a laptop with an iPad or not an iPad, just being able to visualize your thing before you make it. Post-viz is really the Jungle Book kind of idea, is a tiny little thumbnail of that there, where you can bring some of the live action and the previs together. There was a great talk from the people who did the Planet of the Apes movie yesterday about that. But post-viz, tech-viz is really like visualizing what your shoot's going to be like. Doesn't matter whether it has visual effects in it or not. You're just trying to practice what your real shoot is going to be like, so you can test what equipment fits in the room, what kinds of cameras can you use, what like lenses and what lights and what equipment is going to work for your shoot, among other things. Practical sets as well. In-camera visual effects is really where the LED volume comes to life. And that's an advanced version of an old principle of rear projection, trying to capture a set extension in the background, among other things. But now we can dynamically affect them. We can get different perspectives in the background. We can get animated things that, like you'll see from the demo in a minute, in the background as well. And then still using green screen and other versions of what could be called virtual production. It doesn't have to be an LED volume. Just quick show of hands. I can't see any of you, but quick show of hands, who is involved in virtual production in some way? Everybody. All right, well, I'm glad I spent 2 minutes talking about what virtual production is. Should have asked that first. You're welcome. You should hear about this new way people are making movies called virtual production. It's amazing.
How much is it?
How much is it? Have you got any virtual production?
Hold on, I think I got one in my pocket.
All right, we'll get some out. Everyone gets a virtual production.
Everyone gets one.
You get a virtual production. You get a virtual production. Okay, so workflow-wise, there's all kinds of flavors of doing this. What I really want to emphasize here, because there's a tendency amongst nerds, I've noticed, to really focus on technology and tools, and they're super important. We couldn't do any of this without tools and technology. But when I have this privilege of, and thank you for the privilege of being here, thank you to Sony, and thank you to Epic, and thank you for you guys for being here. Whenever I get the privilege of doing this, I always want to come back to something that's not about technology, that's called story and art. And that is really why we're doing all of this in the first place. So in the spirit of that, any workflow should really start with an idea that wants to be born, something that has a thing you want to communicate, a thing you want to express, an emotion you want to convey, whatever that is. Don't let that go. That's why we're doing all of this in the first place. But really coming from story, we're then exploring the idea through early experiments in, you're welcome to have these diagrams if you want, I can share them with you, but this really tracks the journey from story into the art department, exploring the visual look of a piece. You can do that in so many ways now. You can do it with drawing, you can do it with 3D storyboards now, you can make an Unreal Engine, anybody can do those for free these days. Going in from that in through what many people have called the virtual art department, an extension or companion of the art department, building worlds that we can visualize, we can contain them in something like Unreal Engine's become the king container for this thing. We can build these worlds, we can explore them, we can art direct them, we can noodle on them, we can scout them, we can bring in our friends who have opinions about it, and we can do all of this in real time. In fact, globally, we can connect. Like in a way, the metaverse has already existed professionally for a long time. You can connect Unreal Engines together, be working with your friends in the environment across the globe. Now that's existed for a little while now. Being able to noodle on these environments, figure out when they look right, when they do, we can shift on to the next stage where we're in a shoot phase. And once we're in the shoot phase, at that point, we should have made all the right decisions, but we still want some amount of adjustability. And that's what you can't do with traditional rear projection, but you can do with this new way of doing it called virtual production. You should all check out. But yeah, the post-production still exists with variously, depending on the project, sending things to post for them to make in a different way, or for them to do things on top of, add visual effects to, replace with some higher rendered render-man version of, or whatever it looks like. So there's not really a pipeline, but various different ways of doing it. But really the like valuable part of virtual production for me, in many ways, has always been being able to iterate quickly, try the idea, get into it as soon as possible, as quick as possible, and test it. It's nice to be able to also shoot with that way, but really, like, there's so much value getting to watch people like Jon Favreau play in, and the DPs involved in the filmmaking process play in that sandbox and actually play and test things. That's the different way of working. So really start with your story, start with an idea. There's a famous Spielberg storyboard up there. If anyone's scared of drawing bad storyboards, just go, he did all right. Starting with that is a great place to start, but then you can really quickly get into an idea with virtual reality or just with a monitor, and getting into 3D and playing and kit bashing and putting things together to explore your world, explore your idea, check it out with scouts and with your friends, and then get to the point of shooting. This is a very overview type talk, so I'm going to keep moving into the art. So in terms of the art, what do you put on these LED walls, or in the green screen, or on the computer that you're working on, however you're doing virtual production, really breaks down still to like things that are quite traditional in a way in terms of computer graphics. Unreal Engine has become the king of being the container for holding 3D worlds. Live action wise, people also put live action on the background, like they projected in the 1930s. They project or play live action on the background too. We're still using 2D plates. We're still using we're also using layered plates or layered imagery, and now we're at the point we're also using 360 imagery and projecting that onto the background. So all of those things are still very valuable, and photography and photorealism is what people tend to want behind them so that it looks as good as it possibly can. And sometimes that's really well served with Unreal Engine, and sometimes that's really well served with photography. And then there's all this AI stuff after that everyone's all, torn up about at the moment. And I'm definitely not here to condemn or condone it. But people are starting to use some of this in various parts of the traditional process. People are also creating things with it and putting it in the background. That relates to imagery, to video, to the layout of 3D worlds, persistent 3D worlds. Things like Gaussian splats, the thing I hope they find a better name for. They're sort of almost, they're not, but look like kind of volumetric photographic worlds that you can navigate and change perspective in. You can use them in Unreal. So there's all this, AI stuff coming in. It's also affecting the pre-production world, people being able to visualize things and all kinds of stuff. I'll say one more thing about that in a minute. People-wise, there's no one way of doing anything in life, and there's no one way of doing anything in virtual production. But there's all sorts of people that need to be on set for a virtual production shoot that are traditional, things like a director and a DP and production designer and camera people, grips for shadows. All the traditional things still apply. And then you often have a VFX soup on stage. Now you have some additional people on stage, like a virtual production supervisor, somebody who understands virtual production and VAD people, like people who understand the worlds, people who can manipulate them, people who can make changes on set. There are people off stage as well who are putting those together. There's also additional professionals, animators. Many of these skill sets have been done for a while, and the way that they change in this world is significant, but it's not like entirely replacing the way we did it before. It's really just understanding how to optimize and make things run faster. That's probably the biggest distinction. Skills-wise, I'm going to sum this up by saying, because a lot of people ask me these days, what should I learn? I run a school, so there's a very common question is, what should I learn? I'm going to summarize this by saying, in virtual production, if you say who comes from visual effects? Who comes from that world? Yeah, a few people. Who comes from production? Anyone from production? Who comes from games? Bunch of people, sort of roughly evenly split. So, like being in Lion King, there was no such thing as a virtual production artist. It was like, what do we got? We've got games, we've got visual effects, we've got production. Let's do the best with what we can with the knowledge in those groups. If you come from one of those groups, if you're from games, you might not be, you might know computer graphics really well, you might know optimized computer graphics really well, but you might not know film. And you might not have gone through the process of talking with film professionals, understanding their language, knowing about how to make shots, knowing how all that comes together. If you come from visual effects, you probably also don't know about film because you got a shot at the end of its life. You don't necessarily know what happened at the beginning of its life. Now it's really useful to know about that and understand the film world, understand that language, that culture, understand the process of filmmaking. If you come from games or visual effects, there's things to make up for. I would say from the AI stuff, whatever that is, to my best advice is to be ethical about it, be responsible about it, don't ignore it because it's likely not going away. Try and figure out what it means to you in the place that you sit, but I really wouldn't ignore it. So the number one thing I get asked these days is what happens now AI is here. I would say double down on fundamentals. The thing that never changes through every tech advance is fundamentals. Storytelling doesn't change. Good imagery and composition and lighting and emotion, all those things don't change. Double down on those and you'll persist through any tech change, whether it's AI or any other. So the last thing I'm going to say before I turn it over is to say CG Pro is a school and we can help in this area if we can and you would like to join us. We have tons of things that we do. We train people, we have loads of free stuff that we do as well as the paid courses. We somehow got this award from Epic last year, which is a gold badge, and we're the only one of 5 in the world that has that. I'm super proud of that. Thank you. We're the only one in North America. It's kind of cool, kind of wild to me. But we love doing what we do. If you would like to connect, if you want to learn anything more about what we do, if you want to chat about it, if you want to go deeper on anything I couldn't cover in 10 minutes, then that's my LinkedIn. If you want to take a photo of it, connect with me, speak to me afterwards. There's a whole bunch of links down there. And that is my slot. I hope you all, whatever you all do, that you have fun with it. I know we're going through a weird time and there's a lot of excitement and fear and confusion. Just double down on the fundamentals. Remember why you're doing this stuff in the first place. Go out there and create things. In this time of disruption is a time to come back to why we did in the first place. Focus on your dreams. Focus on what you really want to do. Focus on what you want to say and what you want to experience. And we will get through this all together. It's been a great pleasure talking with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. All right, and how many of you have heard about Mocopi? Can you raise your hands? All right, a couple people. All right, so Mocopi is an easy and portable way to animate your project, especially for virtual production. So with Mocopi, the idea when we launched the product, we wanted something that people could carry around on their pockets, and also without need to be on a volume or on those expensive suits. So it's an easy way to get your motion data to an Unreal project. So it's very small, as you can see here. I have it on my hand. An ad, thank you.
I can always keep one in my pocket because there's just...
You never know when you got a mocap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the size of an AirTag. It comes with 6 sensors, 2 for the wrists, 2 for the ankles, 1 for the hip, and 1 for the head. And we have, it comes also with some straps that you can attach to your body. So the way it works is via Bluetooth, you connect it to your phone. We have an application called Mocopi. We have an application on either iOS or Android. You pair via Bluetooth with this app, and you don't need to do any like a T-pose or any other things that you usually do when you're wearing a suit or if you're in a volume. It's very easy to connect. People without any knowledge of motion capture can easily connect and pair. And you can start streaming that motion data directly to your Unreal project. So here is an example of how you can animate your MetaHuman. You can create whatever avatar you want. You can use whatever MetaHuman you wanted on your Unreal project. You can also stream that to your UEFN and save that to port to your Fortnite project. So it's an easy way to animate your NPCs on Fortnite. And then what we are announcing during this week is what we call a time sync code, which is, we are going to do the demo later, later today. But the way it works is you can stream the motion data to a live link to your Unreal project, and you can have your face track and sending the same data to the same Unreal project, and have this time sync code to know exactly to match the data from the face and the body, as you can see here in this video. So Shota, who is gonna do the demo later today, has a face track, and he's animating his face together with Mocopi, and then the data is synced into an Unreal project with the same time sync code. So this is a feature that we are adding this week through the conference. And then one other feedback that we've been receiving after last year's Unreal Fest is that the ability to also support FBX files. So previously, you would have to download your avatar via VVH and transform that to FBX using other software tools like Blender or Motion Editor. But now you can actually export that FBX directly to Unreal project. So that was something we are releasing with the new SDK that we released this week. And besides that, also as part of your virtual production project, you can stream the data from your from Mocopi directly via live link to an LED wall. So it helps you when you're creating your project to have a visualization of the motion data that you're creating with Mocopi. All right, now going to Sam to talk about the virtual production toolset that we just released.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Thaisa.
All right, thank you.
Give her a round of applause. So one thing I want to say, first of all, is thank you, Ed, because he was really part of my learning process when Unreal came out during the pandemic. Both Libor and I took his 8-week course. We had some extra time on our hands, and it was really great being able to take a course with Ed, and then have international students be there from me. We had Italy, Spain in our class, right? And everybody was just kind of there to learn about Unreal and learn how to create projects. And it was really an exciting time for us. And just the way he teaches is amazing. I mean, he just really empowers you and lets you get creative in the class, and lots of homework, but you know.
There is homework. Yeah. Thank you.
There was homework, yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. So what Sony does really well is create solutions. So we're the only camera manufacturer that has an LED wall. We have the Venice camera, which is our cinema camera, but now we've tied everything together with our virtual production tool set. So taking the knowledge from all of our engineering power in Japan, we've created a plugin for Unreal Engine. And of course, that comes with our good friends from Epic Games that we have a very good relationship with for many years, from back in our PlayStation days. And it's also nice to have our friends from Sony Pictures here. So, hey, Daniel, how you doing? Sony Pictures, Sony has a movie studio, and that also allows us to get closer to the creators and the cinematographers and the DPs who are giving us feedback about how better to use virtual production in a tool. So one of the things that we created is a virtual camera for Unreal. And right now we have a virtual Venice. We're later going to talk about the other cameras that we're now adding, but we started out with the virtual Venice because that was our main flagship cinema camera. And what's cool about this is that we're not just creating a generic cinema camera actor now. We have the actual camera with a nice little mesh that looks like a Venice. But the better part about this is that the color science and all of the settings of the real Venice can now be used in previs. Right? And that gives us a lot of power, because if we have our show LUT, for example, we can use that same 3D LUT on the virtual Venice, and it'll look very similar to what the final pixel will look like. Another cool feature about this is all of the settings in your previs can then be transferred to the real camera on the day of the shoot, because they all match exactly. We're not trying to have conversions or taking notes on what the camera settings were in previs to try to match it on the day. We can now do that by just creating a config file, and that config file then translates to the real camera. Moire detection is another part of the tool set. Moire detection gives us now the ability to judge the distance between LED wall and where the camera is, what lens we're going to use, and we can basically block our shots and block our actors and figure out what the positions will be before we go on the stage and spend sometimes it's between $100,000 and $250,000 a week to rent out the stage. So, you know, if you're saving up the money while you're doing the previs, this is a really nice time to figure out where your moire point is. Everybody knows, of course, what moire is. Now, this is not fixing the moire by any means. It's not removing it. That's a physics problem. It's when pixels of the sensor meet pixels of the wall, and they don't really like to meet each other halfway there. So when you're focusing on the wall, you do see color shift, you see moire on the image or on the final pixel. So this doesn't correct it, but it does give you the ability to use it both during the production, where like your focus puller can know what their point of moire is, or even in previs or pre-production. And then the color calibrator, which really ties everything together. Using our Sony cameras, we can now capture a chart on the LED wall. It doesn't matter which wall you use. And that's one of the cool features about the color calibrator, is that it works with any LED wall or any LED volume. But you do have to use a Sony camera, because that's the color science that we know, and that's the color science that we're basing this calibration on. Now, what we do then is we take that chart, we capture it, and then we ingest the file, and we're gonna now release an SDI output ability to do that directly from SDI. And then we'll we linearize the color space, and then we create a calibration LUT, which then goes back into the virtual Venice plugin or the virtual production tool set. And it goes in as a calibration LUT to calibrate camera to wall, right? And that's really nice, because normally to calibrate camera to wall would take hours, if not a whole day or a couple days, depending on the size of your volume. And upcoming cameras, now we're not just including the Venice, but we are adding our broadcast cameras, as well as our Burano, our latest member to the Cine Alta family, as well as our FR7, the world's only PTZ camera with a full frame sensor and lens interchangeability. And now we're also adding the Unreal to the VCam. So you'll be able to see the virtual Venice in the VCam. We're doing a demo of this also downstairs in a Sony booth. You could come check it out, and you can actually ask more questions about how we have it all set up. But we're gonna tie all this together in a few minutes with my friend Shota and Libor, and we're gonna show you guys just how well Mocopi now is working as a part of the virtual Venice plugin. So you'll be able to see the virtual Venice on the iPad with the same settings that you would normally from an output from real camera on a set. You'll have those same exact settings and the same look around information. But now we'll be able to have Mocopi tied into that. And it just kind of brings everything together as a full Sony solution and a whole ecosystem for virtual production, really. This is just an example of all of the cameras. This is a project that we worked with our friends at ETC. If you guys are here, ETC, shout out to them. USC film students, Europa. We did that at NAB. And we were just showing the different cameras at the time and how we can set that all up now. It's not just the Sony camera, right? So like I mentioned before, it's used not only for pre-production or previs, but also on-set production. So we can have the color calibrator on set. We can also have the look development using creative LUTs. And then also the moire for the follow focus. We could send that output for the moire detection directly to the focus puller or the first AC. And then with the virtual Venice look development, one thing missing here now is the Mocopi, which we're gonna add. And now we're gonna show it to you live in this demo, working together with our virtual production supervisor, Libor Chevelik. Did I say that right? Chevelik? All right, so let's give it up for Libor and Shota, who we've been working together on this demo for a few weeks now. So hopefully everything works and nothing crashes. Everyone cross your fingers. And then we'll leave you guys with the QR codes at the very end so you can get information, know where to download the plugin. Shota is our samurai.
Yeah.
He is, this is paying homage to Shogun, who won 18 Emmys and was also shot with Sony Venice. So it all ties all together. But Shota is channeling his inner samurai. He's got,
He's gonna show us his moves.
He's gonna show us his moves. So he's putting together the Mocopi, very easy for you guys to see kind of like what's happening here. He's tying together the ankle sensors. And the cool thing about this is just being able to use it on your phone anywhere you go. Like you could be on the street just, motion capturing. It's really cool to have something that small and that low cost. We're offering a special deal now. I think it's about $398, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Which, $399? $99.99. All right, so now
So he's doing the calibration, which you can see. The calibration process is really like one step forward, no T-pose, or anything like that. So he has already the sensors connected to his phone, and then he's sending the data from his phone to the Unreal project that you can see over here. So now he becomes a samurai. And then Libor has the
VCam.
Yeah.
With the virtual Venice. And this output
exactly
is what you would see if you were looking at a monitor out on a set with the Venice output, right? You have all of the features and information. And this is great for DPs who don't understand virtual production. They can just look at this right away and say, oh, I know my shutter's at 180 degrees. I know my NDs are clear. My base ISO is 800. It just gives all that information. And now Shota is putting on the iPhone for the
face camera.
Face time code live sync.
All right, so if you zoom in, Libor. So Libor is our cameraman now.
And by the way, this is the cheapest way to get a Venice on a drone, is just do it virtually. Libor just can go over the mountains, over the houses here.
All right, and then as you can see here,
There you go.
There we go.
Nice.
So his motion is synced with his face as well as the body. All right, now he's gonna perform a very unique samurai dance.
Called salsa.
Yeah. It's all yours.
He learned how to do salsa today. Look at that. There you go. Love it. Love it.
All right.
There we go. Put the Venice on the drone. There we go.
Yeah.
Nice shot.
So everything that you are seeing is Libor controlling the virtual Venice over there. And as you can see, everything is real time.
You record the page? You can.
You can, yeah. So you can either live stream or you can record. Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. Oh, wow.
Ooh, camera drop. That's also a cheap way to drop the camera.
You can jump in it too. That was what blew me away when I tried it. I was like, wow, for inertial, something that fits in your pocket is super, super cool. I don't get paid for saying this, by the way. I just love what they're doing, and I want to promote it as much as I can.
Thank you.
And you know something? Like, if I was when we were taking your class, I wish I had Mocopi.
Yeah.
Because we were doing everything manually, and it was just like such a painstaking process.
Yeah,
to just,
character animations takes years to get good at.
Yep.
And it's still necessary. It's not going away.
Yeah.
But being able to do this is, we used to use other suits that were more expensive, give people sessions in there, and they kind of like direct a person. But for like $400, you can do it yourself like this. We totally would have done it if this existed.
It would have been fun. Now we're doing it now.
Yeah.
So.
No, and the whole process, it takes less than like 2 minutes to get set up. So it's very straightforward.
Yeah. So the QR code will take you to the Mocopi special, which is $398. And then it'll also take you to the Virtual Production Toolset free download. You have all the information on Marketplace if you just look up Sony, or you can just click on that QR code and get the free plugin for Unreal 5.2, 5.3. The 5.4 version will be coming around Christmas, January maybe, and that will be a charged price. But it will have like watermarks and stuff like that. So if you do need the features, they will be chargeable as of 5.4, but 5.2 and 5.3 are currently free.
Yeah, and then on the Mocopi side, it goes directly to our product page, where you can download our plugins for Unity, Unreal, and Maya, and you can keep updated, keep getting our information as we release new plugins. All right, thank you so much. All right, thanks.